Good afternoon and welcome to Locked On NBA Daily. On today's show, Jimmy Butler is out for the season. Does this change the Warriors' approach to the trade deadline? And does this mean Jonathan Kuminga could re-enter the rotation? Meanwhile, is there a clear favorite in the East hiding in plain sight? And is it time for the Knicks, losers of 4 in a row, to panic?
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network, however you're tuning in, on YouTube or on your podcast app. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. I'm Wes Goldberg. Today, we're talking about a devastating injury for the Warriors, whether the Pistons are the team to beat in the East, and is it time for the Knicks to make a team-altering trade? We're doing it with the help of Locked On's local experts. I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast, senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt?
I'm back, and man, Pistons Celtics was an absolute banger last night. Phenomenal game. There's some great gamers out there. You can find them. I retweeted them on my Twitter timeline at HP Basketball. Just great game. If we get a series of Pistons Celtics, I'm gonna be very excited.
From the Locked On Bulls podcast, also Bears and Bulls creator for Bleacher Report, it's Haize.
National championship game sucked, only because the team I picked didn't win. But it was a great run.
Go Canes. It was a great run. Back in the national title for the first time since 2001. Is the U back? I hope so. But we're going to talk about the NBA. Let's start in Golden State, where the Warriors got a nice win over the Heat last night to wrap up a successful homestand. But the big story coming out of the game wasn't the win. It was a knee injury to Jimmy Butler, and it was reported this morning that Jimmy Butler is going to miss the season with an ACL injury. Here's more from Locked On Warriors.
Breaking news from Shams. Last thing that we want to hear. It overrides the joy and the good vibes of the 6-1 homestand. Jimmy Butler has suffered a torn ACL. He's going to miss the remainder of the season. Devastating. Straight up awful news for the Warriors. Steve Kerr was asked whether, Jonathan Kuminga is going to be reinserted into the lineup, and Kerr basically said, sure, yeah, he's ready. He's been practicing. So we'll see if that's just the plan to insert him back in. Then we'll see if the Warriors try to make any sort of a trade. Worst case scenario, I guess Steph Curry going down, worst case scenario, but Jimmy Butler's right there. The epitome of brutality on a night where we should be celebrating a 135-112 win over the Heat. Instead, who knows if we'll see Jimmy Butler in a Warriors uniform again.
So, guys, you heard Charlie Walter use the word devastating there when talking about the Jimmy Butler injury. Matt, how big of an injury is this for Golden State?
So, I don't like doing these things in the moment because so many times we're like, oh, they're screwed. And then later, it's like, narrator, they were not screwed. Like, there's just sports turn so quickly. Like, Jonathan Kuminga and Steve Kerr have a heart-to-heart. And then Kuminga comes in and plays at an all-star level and pushes that. Like, that can happen. Like, that stuff happens. That's just not narrative. That's not Hallmark narrative BS. Like, that stuff legitimately happens. If you want the rational case here, they're screwed. Every single metric they get worse at without Jimmy Butler. The numbers for Draymond without Jimmy and Steph are catastrophic. The numbers without Curry without Jimmy and Draymond. So anytime Draymond doesn't play and Curry plays, it's been a nightmare. They don't have anybody who can replicate his passing. They don't have anybody who can replicate his ability to operate as both a scoring threat and a passing threat. The IQ drop off. This was a team that didn't have enough offensive firepower in the first place. It says logically that they're screwed. The only thing I really kind of have here is like, well, maybe not. Maybe sports just works. That's all I got here. If we're looking at this rationally, the Warriors are well and truly screwed here.
Oh yeah, they're damned. Unless something crazy, which I would love to see Quentin Post just have a crazy second half of the season, so I could just look at Matt and say another player you hated had a pretty good finish to the season. But outside of a trade, like they need to play Jonathan Kuminga now more than ever. Everybody knows they need to trade him. His trade value is taking a hit. You play him now, he looks good. Maybe it increases it a little bit over the next couple of weeks you have into the trade deadline, to where you can get something that can help move the needle for you. But just realistically, per everything Matt just pointed out, they're screwed. They're done. I don't see any way that they come out of this unless some unexpected candidate gets bought out as well on top of a trade, and they want to come play with Steph. maybe that's something. But via what we know right now, the information that we have available, not the what ifs, they're screwed.
And like, I did the research this morning about like the long-term stuff. If we can go into that, Wes. Okay, let's say that's like, well, okay, not this year. I mean, clock's ticking, man. Like, these guys are not getting younger. And the research basically says this, that over the last 30 years, there's been a progression of, if you suffer an ACL tear over the age of 33, your ability to come back and play has been better. But the drop-off remains significant. You can play, you just kind of suck. And it's just like, that's just a natural thing. And Jimmy's 37. He's going to be 38 when he comes back. I do not know what else there is for the Warriors. Like, if Steph Curry wants to win another title, and I think he's fine. Like, I think Steph is legitimately like, I won 4 titles. I'm the greatest shooter of all time. I'm good. But if Steph is like, I want to win another title, they got to start looking at every single option, even the most unpalatable ones.
So, to your point, Jimmy is 36, 37 years old. He'll be making $56 million next year. He's making $54 million this year. This becomes extremely difficult to now build this team around Steph Curry. If Jimmy Butler, he is already out for the season, and if he's a diminished version of himself next season, we've already seen how difficult it is for the Warriors already this year with a healthy Jimmy Butler, to all your guys' points. But, you know, they're 25-19 right now. They are 8th place in the Western Conference, right in the thick of the play-in tournament. They're a game and a half back of the Lakers for that 6th seed. Climbing out of this play-in tournament now becomes really difficult, and the Warriors have not had the best luck in the play-in tournament since the play-in tournament began. So, you know, I think Charlie Walter is right. I think the right word is devastating. I guess the next obvious place to go with this, guys, is the Warriors were already in the middle of trade rumors, right? Because they always are. They're always mentioned as a team that's really aggressive. Should this make the Warriors more aggressive or less aggressive? Because on one hand, do you just kind of wave the white flag and say, this is just not going to be our year? Without Jimmy Butler, like, is there a trade that can even keep us in this sort of respectable playoff mix? Or should they be even more aggressive considering where we are in Steph Curry's career and the fact that Jimmy's not available? Do they need to make a move more now than ever? Haize.
Yeah, I'll say they should be more aggressive. You still don't want to. I get what Matt's saying as far as like Steph being content with the titles that he's won. But if you want to take advantage of this window, you want to be aggressive. I think they should be more aggressive at this trade deadline. They only have so many assets though, so they can only be so aggressive. But I'm looking at the trade deadline and the buyout market. Those two things is where I'd be the most aggressive if I'm the Warriors.
Oh, let's be clear. When I said if Steph wants to win another title, I meant Steph asking to go somewhere where he can win a title.
Oh, got you.
That's what I was referring to. Haize, that I don't think they can stomach doing it to Jimmy Butler. I think Steph and Draymond would consider it too disrespectful. Like, I am of the opinion they should trade Jimmy Butler. It's not fair. It's brutal. It's cruel. I am of the opinion. I'm just like, look, if you want to try and win again with Steph Curry, who's still awesome, you should, like, you do not have a choice here. You just got to do the thing that is unpalatable. Let's assume Dallas will not go in for an AD deal for Jonathan Kuminga. Like, that's, I think, is like a really good question. Okay, you've already got him. Do you try and swing an Anthony Davis deal to try and salvage this? Like, do you try and go to Anthony? Oh man, one of our stars is hurt. I know. Let's go get Anthony Davis. That'll work. The other problem here, Haize, is you realize the odds that we're just going to start, that now management's going to be like, well, season's lost. We got to recoup. Now we can afford to recoup Jonathan Kuminga's value because he's such an awesome player that we believe in. You realize we're going to have to do the Jonathan Kuminga thing for another 6 months. We're just going to have to do this thing for another 6 months, man.
Please don't. Just trade him, please. We should only have to talk about Jonathan Kuminga for 2 more weeks. Like, that's let's just get the trade done, man. Come on.
We're in charge here. We can just make a rule where we only talk about Kuminga. Never? I don't know. We could just not talk about it. It is crazy how much we talk about this guy, but he's value
the level
is the
player
fact
that he is what makes it crazy.
Yeah. He's not a good basketball player, and it's the only reason we talk about him so much is because of his value to a team that Steph Curry is on, and whether or not, like, it's the Talen Horton-Tucker with the LeBron James thing. Like, Talen Horton-Tucker and a first-round pick. We talked about that forever, like 3 years ago, as something. What can the Lakers get with that? And turned out nothing really. Tough times for the Warriors. Meanwhile, the Pistons beat the Celtics last night. Did they prove that they're the team to beat in the Eastern Conference? We'll talk about that and whether or not it's time to panic in New York. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Daily is brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is the one and quickest upgrade you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal. It works right from your phone or your computer, so you can even keep up with your existing number. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's Quo, QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily. The best way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube. We air Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, wherever you get your podcasts. The Pistons beat the Celtics in a fun game yesterday. They win the season series 3-1. They take a 5.5 game lead on the Celtics for first place in the East. Khalil, who covers them over at Locked On Pistons, says that is as good as Cade Cunningham has been. And for as good as he's been, this team is winning because of its defense.
This team's identity is defense. Their defense travels, and their defense will be what wins them games. And in this game, they held the Boston Celtics to 103 points. They forced 14 turnovers and scored 19 points off those turnovers. They had 9 blocks in this game. They had 9 steals in this game. Teams can be good defensively by just getting stops, closing out possessions, and getting back down the floor. The Pistons do that, but they also are defensive playmakers. They make plays on the defensive end of the floor. They have playmakers, and those playmakers turn easy or playmaking defense into easy offense.
So both of you guys on this show have said that the Celtics are the best team in the Eastern Conference. But based on what you saw in yesterday's game, and really all season, are you ready to call the Pistons the team to beat in the East, Haize?
I mean, yeah, they're a team to beat in the East, but I still give this is what I compare it to, and not just because it's the Bulls. In what year is that? 2006, 2007, 2009, whatever year it was. The Bulls were the #1 team in the Eastern Conference by far. Had the best record. They swept the Miami Heat in the regular season. But which team won when they had to face in the Eastern Conference Finals? The team that had better coaching, the team that had more experienced players. So the Detroit Pistons are great, and their defense is legitimate. Top 5. Second best defensive rating in basketball. They have a great offense as well. Those two things usually make you find success. But if Jason Tatum is back for the Boston Celtics have the experience. There's still a coach great by Joe Mazzulla. I would still give them the edge in a playoff series, but the Detroit Pistons are going to be the better regular season team this year. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's such a fun story, and I love this Pistons team, and they're so much fun to watch. And then there's the part of me that's just like, look, you got to go whenever nobody is as good as they look and nobody's as bad as they look. And the Pistons are a great example of they're a really good team. But when you have a situation where the win record doesn't necessarily match up with, and I think the win record doesn't match up with the eye test. I'm like, if the Pistons were like second or third in the East, I'd be like, look out, right? Like this team can sneak up on somebody. The reason that but when we start talking about the team to beat, it can't be them. And the problem is like their offense. This team doesn't shoot threes. They're bottom 12 in 3-point rate. They're bottom 12 in 3-point percentage. You get into a series with a team that just bombs from 3 and you're going to have problems. Oh, but the Boston Celtics, blah, 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 blah. The Celtics shot terribly last night because the Pistons defense is elite. Like it is elite. When things get tough in the regular season or in the playoffs, you have to be able to score. This team is 19th in half court offense this season. Like there's just like a lot of numbers that you look at and you go, I don't know about that. For example, they get by mostly on offensive rebounds and free throw rate. Now, they're not the only one that does that. Houston does that. The Knicks did that before they melted into this glob of complete backside that they are currently. But that's really hard to sustain in a playoff series. If you go up against a team that is hot Like you just faced like the wrong team. That's the problem. Is it's not Detroit versus most of the teams in the Eastern Conference advantage Detroit. But you find like, oh, you caught that one team that was just red hot, and then they get by you. And there's too many threats, I think, in the Eastern Conference to be like, this is the team. I don't think there is the team in the Eastern Conference. And it's not surprising. We knew that coming in. That doesn't mean that they're all trash. It just means that there's not a team that is definitively better. But you mentioned the 5.5 game lead for the Pistons over the Celtics. They clinched tiebreaker last night too. It's 6. Their magic number for the 1 seed is 35. And it's like 35. Come on. No, think about this. If they go 20 and 15 the rest of the way, they're within range of that. Like they are well on their way to being the 1 seed. Like they have a huge advantage here to be the 1 seed. The road to the Eastern Conference Finals is going to go through Detroit. I promise you that.
I think I'm higher on the Pistons as maybe the clear favorite than you guys are. Maybe I'm just not giving the Celtics the respect that maybe they
No, Wes. That doesn't sound like you.
Haize already mentioned this. They're second in defensive rating behind only the Oklahoma City Thunder. I look at this Pistons team. They are the closest team to copying the Thunder formula as there has been over the last couple of years. Not only are they top 2 in defensive rating along with the Thunder, they're second in opponent turnover percentage, behind only, obviously, OKC. These are the only teams that are forcing turnovers on 17% or more of their opponent possessions. This is how the Pistons do it, to Kukalil's point. They're not just getting stops. They're turning their defense into offense. And, they have a big guard who leads their offense, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Cade Cunningham. There's some similarities there, too. I think this Pistons team is really good. Meanwhile, nobody thinks this Knicks team is very good right now. They lost to the Mavericks at home last night. They have now lost 4 in a row and are only a game and a half out of the play-in tournament in the Eastern Conference. This losing streak is prompting some trade rumors out of New York. Here's more from Locked On Knicks.
I'll read you the quote from Steve Popper. Whispers around the league have begun to speculate about the possibility of the Knicks moving him and being Towns. According to one league source, the Knicks have not shopped Towns or bought him up with any teams. In parentheses, that feels weirdly placed. His name surfaced when the Bucks and Knicks discussed the chance of a deal involving Giannis Antetokounmpo, but now league sources said talks have involved other teams, including Memphis, Orlando, and Charlotte. I think you should probably clarify that those are 2 different sources. I guess maybe that is supposed to be obvious. That is wow. Leon Rose seemingly willing to stake this precious championship window that the Knicks haven't had since the 90s on Karl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges. And now less than a year and a half in, and after a season in which you got to Game 6 of the conference finals, your best finish in 25 years, you're telling me after an 11-game stretch, that's it? Pull the plug? He's gone? Like, that is, on one hand, shocking to me. On one hand, like, what else do you want this team to do? Because Mike Brown and Karl-Anthony Towns, as we discussed with Chris, and probably underplayed on this podcast, like, there are real issues there. There are real issues between those 2 guys. Like, I think that is very much out in the open at this point. Like, they're not on the same page in any way. And Mike Brown has not really turned down the heat on that with his comments in any way. And Kat obviously is vocally not thrilled with how this season has gone.
Matt, should the Knicks explore trading Karl-Anthony Towns?
Yes. If you go back to our preseason coverage, one of the reasons I was skeptical about the New York Knicks was I specifically mentioned, I was like, I do not think that the chemistry is great between Karl-Anthony Towns and the rest of that Knicks roster. Like, I think Mike Brown has made a calculated move here, as great coaches do in this league, where you have to play politics to know that, like, it is okay for me not to get along with Karl-Anthony Towns if that makes me better in with guys like OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, etc. They are, I think they got to look at any and all options here. The question I don't know how to answer, Haize. Okay, the Bucks are telling everybody they're not going to trade Giannis this season, that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen next summer. You get to the deadline. Bucks are still having, because that's what everyone's waiting for. It's like for the Bucks to crack and be like, okay, fine. If you get to the deadline, the Bucks are like, we're not trading him. Nope. We're looking to buy, not trading him. Nope. Wait for the summer if you want to try and get him. Do you wait, or do you just suffer through the rest of the season with how much of a mess this is? Like, how much do you have to try and salvage this if you're New York? Is it worth giving up on the chance for Giannis to try and salvage this right now?
And that's kind of what me and Wes talked about yesterday, as far as teams kind of, waiting on other trades or passing up on other trades, waiting for Giannis. And I think it depends on the offer, right? I think it depends on the offer. Of course, a player that's as good as Giannis is not going to come available, multiple times unless Nico Harrison happens to be the GM of that team. But I think if you have a trade that you feel makes you markedly better, you have to take it now if you're the New York Knicks. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know if they'll do it. They'll always wait on star power. But I think if you get a trade for Karl-Anthony Towns, you feel it makes you better now and gives you a chance to win a title this season, you do that. Now, one could say you wait on the better deal because Boston's going to be better next year. Indiana may be better next year with Tyrese Halliburton coming back. So maybe you don't want to think too short term. But me, I take the best deal on the table now if it's a really good offer.
I got a really fun one because they mentioned Memphis. Karl-Anthony Towns for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Jaren Jackson Jr., and filler. You put Jaren Jackson Jr. next to Mitch Robinson. He's able to stretch the floor as a 5 the way that you liked it with Towns, but he can play power forward next to Mitchell Robinson. You don't have to worry about the rebounding thing because you got Mitch, hopefully, who gets through whatever he's going through because that guy is in a bad place, and I feel for him based off of his Instagram. That gets you a veteran defender. You move on from Towns. Memphis gets to be like, hey, Karl-Anthony Towns and Zach Edey. That's a pretty good combo, like for a 2-big combo that we want to kind of go through. That probably works, honestly, better than what they've got currently. Maybe that could solve the whole Ja thing. Maybe Ja and Karl-Anthony Towns work together perfectly. It's possible. Even if you trade Ja, you bring in another point guard, and you got Ja, you got another point guard, and you got Towns, and you got Zach Edey. I don't think Towns would do well in Memphis, given that Towns' love for like the toughest of toughest. But it's a pretty not bad idea. The Orlando idea is not bad either. If you try and throw just like, hey, Goga Patazde, Jonathan Isaac, random guys with the Knicks is a pretty good approach based off of their success 2 years ago in the playoffs. I think both those ideas are really interesting.
Just keep him away from Chicago. That's all I know.
You're getting Anthony Davis. Don't worry.
Just keep him away from Chicago too.
Matt, the Orlando Magic are the team that I keep trying to do the fake trade. Would you do it for anybody that's not Paolo or Franz? Like if you can get a Jonathan Isaac, if you can get Jalen Suggs, if you can get something like that from Orlando, I think the Knicks would have to think about it.
I don't think there is any world where the Magic do it for Jalen Suggs. He is too important to them. And man, if you're the Magic, do you at least think about Paolo Banchero with how good Franz Wagner is? Like, let's say you get other assets with, and the Knicks don't have any picks because they traded all of them for Mikal Bridges of all people.
Right.
But like, I mean, the Paolo Franz thing continues to be like a tension point because Franz is definitely their best player. But again, you can probably fill in. It is $53 million, which is a lot of money.
Yep.
I'll say this. I would be very surprised if they did Jalen Suggs for Karl-Anthony Towns, which is the only one that really makes sense. Now, maybe they're willing to move on from Bane. That's not a crazy idea, being like, well, okay, Bane's been great for us, but we still have Franz and Paolo. We'll do Bane for Towns, and then we have Wendell Carter Jr. It gives you a different dynamic. I don't know. It's really risky.
There's some contracts that make it work in Orlando.
It's weird, though, because with the Magic, I think it's weird because you can't look at the Magic like you're like, oh, we can't trade that guy. Oh, we can't trade that guy. Oh, we can't trade that guy. Oh, like all four of the big Suggs, Banchero, Wagner, and Bane. You're like, oh, we can't trade that guy. And then you look up and look at their record, and you're like, why can't you trade those guys?
Right.
You're not moving up in the East.
We're gonna put a pin in the cat conversation for now. We're gonna move on to Matt and Hayes' favorite topic. We're gonna talk about all-star voting after this. Today's episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your whole life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. Thanks for making Locked On NBA Daily your first listen every day. The Locked On Podcast Network has a show for every team. Check out Locked On Warriors, Locked On Celtics, Locked On Pistons, Locked On Knicks for more on today's top stories. Guys, the NBA announced the All-Star starters for both conferences yesterday. In the East, we have Giannis, Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson, Cade Cunningham, and Tyrese Maxey. Haize, did they get it right? Did they leave somebody out? Like, what did you think about the 5 starters that we ended up with?
For the East, I love it. I think that they got pretty much right for the starters. Cade Cunningham's in there. Maxey's in there. Those are the guys that I really would push for. I think they got it more right than wrong.
Matt?
I mean, I don't have complaints. It's who you're going to say is like doesn't belong here. Giannis, Cade, right. Tyrese. I'm glad to see Maxey make it. I think it's awesome that he's got this. Jaylen Brown being number 1 on the media rank, I thought was really interesting. That was interesting to me. I was like,
Not
really?
All surprising. The Boston Media Mafia alive and well.
I don't know why. Like, Heat guys are so vocal too. Like, you have so many guys. Best AP writer in the country writes for you guys. Donovan Mitchell probably being in like an exclusion is tough, but like the Cavs just haven't been good enough. So I definitely don't have anybody on the East side that I'm like, what a snub. On the West side, I mean, look, I get it because everybody gets all bent out of shape. How could this guy not be a starter? How could this not? Okay, who are you kicking out here for Ant? Like who?
Right. Well, let's name the 5 starters. So in the West, we have Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, and Victor Wembanyama. I do think, Matt, that Victor Wembanyama spot, that's the pivot one, right? Like, that's the one where you can kind of go in a couple of different directions. Wemby has been awesome when he's been on the court, but he's also only played in 29 games, Haize.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it, though, as far as the voting aspect for it of why Wemby's in there. Yeah, Steph, you can make a conversation for, but I love Steph. So I think that they got it pretty much right on the West, too.
Players having Luka 6th is the most interesting one.
Mm.
Okay, Wemby 7th for players. Fine. He's a young guy. They all love Ant, right? That makes sense. Ant's like one of the guys. So he's 4th. Okay. Fans had Victor higher. Fans want to see Victor more than they want to see Ant. And you can be upset. I think they want to see both guys, but they want to see Victor more than they want to see Ant. On the other hand, I am just kind of like, by the way, the fans also apparently, based off of raw vote, want to see Denny Avdia over both of them. So I just think there's only 5 spots. Victor he is one of the most popular players in the world. He is iconic already just because of his size. And if the Wolves were the 1 seed, does Ant get in? Yes. The Wolves get in or the 2 seed. Like, the Wolves got to win more games, and they'll be in there. Now, he's right there. They're right there, but you got to do like a little bit more. And if it's like, well, what about Luka? He's a Laker, man. What do you expect? He's Luka. He's a Laker.
Yep. Really quick, over at DLLS Sports, Tim Cato got a scoop that the players who can vote on All-Star starters casted votes for 364 different players to be All-Star starters this season, not reserves, starters. There were 122 players who received exactly 1 vote. And here's just an example of a few of the players who got a vote to be a starter in the All-Star game this year. Kyle Lowry, Eric Gordon, Jonathan Kuminga, Dennis Schroeder, Scoot Henderson, Jeff Green, Drew Timme, Dario Saric, and Jason Tatum, who has not played a minute.
I don't mind the Jason Tatum one. Like, it would be like, hey, he's definitely an all-star. He deserves to be in. Like, I don't mind just being like, hey, okay. I don't care. Like, he deserves to be there. Like,
better than a Drew Timme vote, I guess.
Yeah, like that's better than a Nick Clifford vote. A Dario, like he's mentioned, a Dario Saric vote. Carlo Makovich got 2. Lindy Waters got 1. We'll just continue to ask, like, okay, if the players aren't going to take it seriously, I don't mind. If the players want to take it seriously, then they should be in this. If the players are not going to take it seriously, why do they want to be involved?
As the king of petty. So just to be clear, players are allowed to vote for themselves. Did Drew Timme vote for himself? I don't know. Who's to say? But Haize, put yourself in an NBA locker room. Put yourself like on a team. If you found out that like you were, I don't want to keep picking on Drew Timme, so I'll pick somebody else here. Like if you found out that you were sharing a locker room with Dario Saric, and you heard that Saric voted for himself, or Jonathan Kuminga voted for himself to be an all-star starter, would you not judge your teammate in that moment?
Yeah, I would. But I mean, hey, as the king of petty, do what you need to do. Who's going to stop you? It's your vote. Now, I do think some of these votes should count as a failed drug test, but that's just my personal opinion.
That's awesome.
You voted for who? Sit out 5 games.
Yeah,
That's a failed drug test.
5-game suspension.
Yeah.
It should at least trigger a pee in a cup, like at the very least.
I don't like. No player is going to be mad at a guy for voting for himself because they clearly don't take this seriously. Like, they clearly They don't care, which is odd to me because they seem to care about All-Star more than they care about All-NBA, which I think is weird. Like, even the players talk about it, like, well, I'm an All-Star. Like, I was a 5-time. You know, they talk about that more than they talk about All-NBA. That's always been not always. It's been my thing over the last 15 years since this thing has become such a joke. Is I'm just like, I don't care about All-Star. I care about All-NBA. That's the real determination of whether or not you had an elite season, whether you were serious. And I do think the players would take All-NBA a little bit more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Tie their contract extensions to being All-NBA, not All-Stars.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA Daily wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Thank you to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA Daily.